There's a calculation that credit card companies run on your account every month. It determines the smallest possible amount you can pay without them calling it a default. And here's what nobody tells you. That number is engineered, not estimated, not rounded, engineered, to keep your balance alive for decades. I spent 6 years as a bank analyst. I saw the internal reports, the ones that track how long the average customer stays in revolving status, the ones that show what happens to profit margins when people pay $5 over the minimum versus $5 under. They know exactly what they're doing. And after today, so will you. I'm going to break down the formula, show you why your brain falls for the statement design, and give you the exact math to break the cycle, including a $9 adjustment that can buy back 7 years of your life. If you're making the minimum payment and still not getting out, that's not a discipline problem. That's the product working as designed. Credit cards aren't built to help you, quote, pay it off eventually. They're built to keep you in revolving balance mode for as long as you'll tolerate. The scale tells you everything. About 111 million Americans carry a balance month to month. Over 27 million often can only pay the minimum. That's not, quote, a few bad decision makers. That's a system that's found its target market. Total credit card debt hit $1.277 trillion in Q4 2025, all-time high, about 66% higher than the pandemic low. Here's the part that should bother you. At 20 to 29% APR, interest eats most of your payment early on. The minimum can reduce your principal by single-digit dollars. Run one clean example. $5,000 at 18% APR, paying a 2% minimum. You're looking at about 30 years, and $6,923 in interest. That's 139% of what you borrowed. Minimum payment sounds responsible. Mathematically, it's the slowest exit ramp available. So no, you're not behind. You're doing exactly what the statement suggests. And that suggestion is the trap. Credit card interest doesn't compound monthly the way people assume. It compounds daily. The math is simple and it's brutal. Your daily rate is your APR divided by 365. Then, tomorrow's interest is charged on today's balance plus today's interest. Take a small balance, $3,000 at 24% APR. That's about $1.97 a day, every day, weekends, holidays, while you're being responsible. Now layer in the minimum payment formula. Most cards set it as something like 2% of the balance, or interest plus a tiny slice of principal, sometimes plus any fees. And they add a floor, $25 to $35, so the balance doesn't disappear too fast when it gets smaller. Here's the part they don't spell out. 2% minimum sounds aggressive until you do one cycle. $5,000 at 22% APR. Minimum payment, $100. Interest for the month is about $92. That means you paid about $8 off the actual debt. I ran that exact kind of calculation in 2009 for my own cards. Kitchen table, calculator. Seeing $8 principal made me feel sick. Because it means if you stay near the minimum, your balance stays high long enough for compounding to keep winning. The cleanest trick on a credit card statement isn't the APR. It's the box that says minimum due. Because your brain reads that number like it's a recommendation, not information, a suggested dosage. And if you're tired, busy, and trying to be responsible, you anchor to it without even noticing. That's not my opinion. In 2009, a researcher named Stewart found that just showing minimum payment information can measurably reduce what partial payers choose to pay. And Keyes and Wang, in the Journal of Financial Economics, found about 29% of cardholders pay regularly near the minimum. More telling, roughly 9 to 22% of people respond more to changes in the minimum payment formula than their cash situation can explain. That's anchoring, not liquidity. Then the Card Act tried to fix it with the pay it off in 3 years disclosure. Result? Basically nothing. Only about 0.4 percentage points followed the recommendation. Actual savings? About $62 million a year. Estimated savings without the anchor effect? Over $2 billion a year. So if you go by the statement, you're not going by your goals. You're going by their UI. Quick question. Check your last statement. Did you pay the minimum or pretty close to it? Drop it in the comments. Not to call anybody out. Because if that was you, that's not failure. That's design. Here's why this doesn't get quote-unquote fixed. If you capped credit card rates at 10%, the industry would lose about $368 million a day in interest. Per day. That's the size of the incentive keeping everything exactly the way it is. And the dirty little secret is, you're not the customer, you're the product. About 60% of accounts are quote-unquote revolvers, people carrying a balance, and they generate roughly 85 to 90% of the revenue. The profit is about $240 per revolver per year. A quote-unquote transactor, someone who pays in full, is worth about 25. The system doesn't love you for being responsible, it just tolerates you. Since 2010, Americans have paid around $2.1 trillion in credit card interest. Trillion. Credit card lending runs around 6.8% ROA versus about 1.1% for a normal bank. And margins went from 8.2% in 2007 to 17.1% in 2025. I wrote those margin reports as a bank analyst. I knew where the money came from. I just didn't say it out loud. This isn't a bug, it's the business model. Now you know why nobody's going to repair it for you. If this is the first time you've heard it framed this cleanly, hit like so more working people see it. Subscribe if you want me to keep opening the math they'd rather leave in fine print. No guru stuff, just the numbers.
Banks don't care whether you pick Snowball or Avalanche. They don't even have a preference. They get paid when you stay near the minimum. Both methods only work if you're consistently paying over the minimum. Avalanche is the math answer. Highest APR first. You pay less interest, you get out faster on paper. Snowball is the human answer. Smallest balance first. You get a win early, and that win keeps you paying. And the real-world data is uncomfortable. One report had Snowball around a 78% completion rate, Avalanche around 52%. That's not a rounding error. That's a different outcome. Researchers like Kettle and Trudell have shown why. Progress perception. When you can see a debt disappear, you stick with the plan longer. The system quietly bets you'll choose optimal, hit month 3, miss once, and slide back to minimum only. I used Snowball. Not because I didn't understand Avalanche. I did. After 2008, I just needed a win. Seeing the first card hit 0 was worth more than the $47 Avalanche would have saved me. Don't make this ideological. Make it executable. Get off the minimum, and pick the plan you'll actually finish.
Here's the lever nobody explains, because it's boring, and it breaks the machine. Interest is calculated on your balance. So every extra dollar you pay that actually hits principal shrinks the balance that future interest gets charged on. That doesn't just save you money, it collapses time, and it collapses fast. Example 1, $2,000 at 18% APR. If you ride the minimum, you're looking at more than 10 years. Add $9 a month. Not 90, 9. You're down around 3 years. You just bought back about 7 years with a fast food combo. Example 2, $5,000 at about 22%. Add $50 a month over whatever the minimum is. You cut roughly 5.5 years off the payoff and save about $3,731 in interest. That's not motivation, that's arithmetic. Example 3, $3,000 at 22%. Minimum is around $60. That can drag out to about 19 years. Pay $110 instead, and you're under 3 years, saving $3,500 plus. The game changer isn't a heroic one-time payment. It's a small, fixed, automatic over minimum amount. So do this today. Treat minimum due as information, not a decision. Pick a fixed payment, minimum plus $25 or $50, and set autopay to that number so you don't fall back into the default. Then every raise or tax refund increases the payment, not your lifestyle. You don't need a new life. You need a constant principal surplus. You can do the right thing and add $50 a month and still feel stuck because you're paying extra with one hand while the card refills the balance with the other. The cheapest way to use a credit card is 0%, the grace period. That only exists if you pay the full statement balance. The minute you start revolving, a lot of cards start charging interest on new purchases right away. No free month. You're running a payoff plan and a new borrowing plan at the same time on the same account. That's why it feels like the treadmill.
And cash advances? No grace period. Interest starts immediately, usually with extra fees. It's basically the break glass in case of emergency button that charges you for breaking the glass. So the operational rules are boring, and they work. Don't put new purchases on a card you're paying down. Separate spending from payoff. Set autopay so you're never late, because late fees aren't small. They're about $32 a hit, and the industry pulls roughly $17 billion a year from them. And if you go 60-plus days late, you can trigger a penalty APR up to 29.99%. One mistake, and the math gets mean. My dad told me last Sunday he paid one late fee in the 80s. One. He was so angry he hasn't been late in 40 years. Sometimes anger is the better autopay. Minimum payment is a design, not advice. Once you see the defaults, you stop feeding the leaks, and the payoff timeline collapses.